Hello everybody, welcome back to this next part of the Trumpeter 1/200 scale Bismarck build. It's been about a month since I've published any updates on the build, but I have been working in the background and this time I'm going to be concentrating on getting the after superstructure finished off and fitted to the ship. And this is part of the sequence of the build where I'll be fitting all the sub-assemblies that I've been building over the last few episodes. So there's a little bit of photo etch work to do on the aft superstructure and one or two extra details to add to it, and then we'll get it fitted. So over to the bench at the back and we'll make a start. Okay, so alright, so this is the after searchlight platform. And I'm going to fit the railing around this. First of all, I've got to shape the railing to go around this curve. So that's the first job. I'm sorry if you can hear a fan in the background. That's the heater, which I've got to have on at the moment, otherwise I get cold fingers and I can't do any of this work. So I'll see if I can edit some of it out. I'm just looking for where the bends are. You can just see some very faint marks, or at least I can see some very faint marks in the railing to show me where the bends start. So this straight piece goes along the forward side, and then I've got to form a curve around these next four sections. What I'm going to do with that is to just roll it very gently. Now at this stage, this doesn't have to be absolutely accurate. I just want to get the bend started. You can see that I've actually rolled that beyond the correct diameter, which is absolutely fine. The thing with these railings, the Pontos railings, is that they're very delicate. So they won't stand a lot of twisting backwards and forwards. So that's actually close enough at this stage, and what I'll do next is prime and paint that, and we can do final adjustments when we come to actually cement it to the platform. So I'll get this painted and we'll come back and get it fitted. So these are the painted railings, so I'll just get these into position. I just want to tack them along the back straight edge. Just leave that to set for a minute. I want that to be firm before I start to mess about with the curve part. Okay, so I'm just going to work around now, and really all I'm aiming to do is just to get a tiny spot of cement just under the stanchion. And then I'll just work around one stanchion at a time, and that just allows me to shape the curve to the curve of the platform. So I'll just let that dry, and then I'll go around the edges with a sanding stick just to smarten the glue spots up, and then just give it a very light spray facing upwards so I don't get it on the platform. Another spray with the light grey. That'll neaten all that edge up. But we'll just let that dry for a moment. Okay, so just a gentle sand around the edges. That's just smartened the join up a little bit. So I'll just blow that in now with some of the XF66, the light grey. And that platform will be done and ready for the searchlights to be fitted. Okay, so that's all done. And I think it's worth spending those couple of minutes just blending the bottom of the railing into the platform and repainting it. It just gets rid of any tiny little gaps and just finishes the piece off a bit. So that's ready to go on the aft superstructure now. So these are the railings for the back part of this superstructure here. And one is slightly longer than the other, and that's because the ladder at the back is slightly offset to starboard. And again, I've got a little roll to make to go around this radius here. So quick check fit, and they'll go on fine, so I'll get those primed and painted and we'll get them fitted. Again, I've got the same technique for fitting these, but I'm just going to wrap a little bit of tape around this old set of tweezers, and that just cushions the railings from getting scratched. The alternative is to use some plastic tweezers for railings. I don't have any, but this does the job just as well. So obviously get the part as close as you can to its correct shape. So that's all the railings done on this section. So the next thing I've got to do is to fit some ladders, and I'm going to be using the Pontos ladders. Trumpeter give us some as well, but they're not as fine as the Pontos ones. This is the one that goes on the aft side here. So I've got another 4 to make for the forward end of the structure. So going up onto the searchlight platform and coming up onto this platform here. So that's 4 to do. One thing when we're cutting these ladders out is not to drag the blade along the connection point, and that's because it will drag the photo etch. The connections on the actual steps themselves are so fine that any dragging action will just pull them out of shape. And once these ladders start to get bent and you're having to twist them around, they just fall apart. The connections, as I said, are so fine. So the method with these is to fold the sides up first. On a fairly short ladder like this, I can use the short nose pliers. These are Tamiya short nose photo etch pliers. And there is a correct way up for them, because the bottom piece here has got a textured plate on it. So that's like a foot plate at the bottom of the step, or at the bottom of the ladder. So that needs bending up very gently. And then with a pair of relatively fine tweezers, I just snap each rung into place. So that's not a twisting motion on this step, it's just pressure, and it just clicks the tread into the correct position. Okay, so same process, get those primed, painted, and we'll attach them to the structure. These ladders need a tiny amount of cement. Okay, I'm happy with those. I've just got some details to add to the front of this structure above the hangars. So I've got the ship's nameplate, and we've got the ship's bell as well to fit. And then at that point, once that's done, I'll get this fitted to the main hull. This is the tripod for the ship's bell. Which fits at the forward end of the structure here. Now, so that's the stand. This is the turned brass bell, which is a little bit overscale if I'm honest. But even so, it's an improvement on the Trumpeter plastic one. I want to fit the signals bridge as well, which is this piece, because we've also got a ladder to access this bridge. And so I'll get the ladder and fit that next. Just the last thing before I fit this structure, I've missed off a small ladder that goes on this hatch. I assume it's an escape hatch on the after control position there. Okay, that's all good. So we'll get over to the ship and get this fitted. So that's gone on very well, really. I'm glad that I did the work earlier on in the build. You might remember going back to one of the early parts when I was fitting this deck here and test fitted this superstructure part. I found that there was a warp in this very large trumpeter moulding, and what that was doing was it caused the deck to sag and leave gaps under the bulkheads on this superstructure. So I'm glad I fixed that before I got to this stage. It would have been almost impossible to correct if I hadn't done that earlier. So that's all good. I'm going to leave it there for today, and next time we'll move on and get the bridge sorted out. Okay, so that's all done for this episode. Next time I'll be carrying on doing a similar sort of work with the bridge section, getting the last of the railings fitted to that, one or two other details onto it, and fully assembled onto the hull. And at the same time I'll also fit the funnel finally into position. There's no more work to be done on that, it's finished as far as it needs to be. So as you can see, the silhouette of the ship is starting to come together, but at this stage I still reckon that I'm only about halfway through the build series. There's lots of other details to fit to the ship. I've obviously got the main armament and the secondary armament to build, so there's a way to go with this one yet. So I'll be doing a little bit more work on the Zukimura BF109 here at the front of the bench in the next few days. I'll finish it next week, I hope, and that's to allow space to start the next in the 132 scale aircraft series by the end of the month. I've got something coming up, hopefully by the beginning of February. But if you're following the Bismarck build in particular, I'll be doing the rest of the work that I've just described over the next week or two. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for one of those videos. Until then, everybody, look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.